Have you ever felt that growing sense of career dread? Well, the reason for it isn't necessarily because you're in the wrong job. It's that your internal guidance system is probably operating on outdated data. Today, we're going to show you a 3-step framework for life direction calibration. It's a way to pivot your life toward fulfillment without having to quit your job or burn any bridges. So let's really dig into this idea. That nagging feeling of being stuck, of being on a path that just doesn't feel like yours anymore. That's not a signal to blow everything up. Think of it more like a system alert. It just means the map you made for yourself maybe 5 or 10 years ago doesn't match the person you've become today. And the good news? You don't need a whole new vehicle. You just need to update your internal GPS. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at the crisis of misalignment itself. Then, we'll dive into the psychology of what keeps us stuck. After that, we'll build a new internal compass, lay out a super practical 3-step plan, and look at the science that makes it all work. And finally, we'll talk about how you can truly master your own life's direction. All right, let's jump right in. Section 1, the crisis of misalignment. This is where we talk about why our first instinct when we feel lost, to make some huge dramatic leap, is often the absolute worst thing we can do. We all love the story of the explosive pivot, right? The lawyer who quits to open a bakery. It's romantic, for sure, but it's also incredibly risky. Here's why. These massive jumps create a war inside your head. They trigger your amygdala. That's your brain's ancient alarm system, and it just starts screaming, danger, uncertainty, loss. At the same time, your prefrontal cortex, the rational CEO of your brain, is trying to make a calm, strategic plan, but it gets completely drowned out by all those alarm bells. Incremental realignment, though, that's different. It's about small, smart adjustments. It's low risk, it's sustainable, and it actually works with your brain's wiring by keeping that CEO in charge and the alarm system quiet. So that brings us to Section 2. Before we can start steering in a new direction, we have to understand what's locking the wheel in place. We need to look at the psychology of feeling stuck and shine a light on those invisible forces that keep you on a path you know just isn't right for you anymore. And the main culprit is this right here, the sunk cost trap. This is one of the most powerful cognitive biases out there. Your brain looks at all the years you spent on that degree, the status you've built up, the salary you're earning, and it concludes that walking away would mean all that effort was wasted. It's a clever trick your mind plays on you, confusing past investment with future potential. And this really gets to the heart of it. Why does stopping feel so much like losing? It's because the sunk cost trap isn't just about math. It links the idea of abandoning a path with admitting personal failure. And we are biologically wired to avoid that feeling at all costs. So you see, this isn't a rational calculation. It's a powerful emotional anchor to your past, and it's holding you hostage. And this creates a pretty predictable downward spiral. It all kicks off with the sunk cost trap. That trap then forces you into something called identity rigidity. You start thinking, but I am a lawyer, or I am a marketer, and you keep playing this role that just doesn't fit who you are anymore. This creates an internal battle, a chronic low-level stress called cognitive dissonance. And that constant stress just wears you down, clouds your judgment, and leads to the final stage, decision paralysis. You're so exhausted and conflicted, you just can't make any move at all. Okay, so how do we break free? We need a new navigation tool. And that brings us to Section 3, your new internal compass. This is where we make a really crucial shift. We stop chasing this vague, high-pressure idea of passion and start using something we can actually measure, energy. We're always told to find our passion, but what does that even mean? It puts all this pressure on us to find one single perfect destination for our lives. Auditing your energy is totally different. It's a daily, data-driven process. See, passion is an outcome. Energy is an input you can actually track. It's not a destination, it's a compass. It doesn't demand you find the one right answer for all time. It just asks you to pay attention to the little signals your body and mind send you every single day. And there's real science behind this. When you do tasks that are aligned with you, you get a cognitive charge. Your brain releases rewarding chemicals like dopamine and serotonin that make you feel focused and alive. But when you do misaligned tasks, you get energetic leakage. Your body releases the stress hormone cortisol, which just leaves you feeling drained. Your internal compass literally speaks the language of brain chemistry. These feelings, they're the raw data. All right, this brings us to the heart of it all. Section 4, the 3-step calibration protocol. This is your practical, step-by-step action plan. Think of it as the mechanic's guide for taking those energy readings and using them to gently and actively steer your life. Step 1 is the Energy Engagement Audit, and this is foundational. We're moving away from vague, emotional questions like, am I happy? And we're putting on our data scientist hat. For just 1 week, your only job is to be a neutral observer and record what you find. You're not judging, you're just gathering the raw data your personal navigation system needs to calculate a new route. This is the radar phase. And here's exactly what that can look like. You just create a simple log. For each major task in your day, you rate its energy yield. On a scale of 1 to 10, how energized or drained do you feel after you do it? Then you note its flow probability. How likely were you to get in the zone and lose track of time? Just look at the patterns here. The weekly team meeting, that's a 2. Responding to emails, a 4. Those are clear energy leaks. But analyzing data and prototyping a new idea, that's an 8 and a 9. The data is practically screaming at you. The point isn't to judge yourself, it's to find the patterns, to identify the coordinates of where your energy actually lives. Okay, so you have your data. You can see the energy drains and the energy gains. What's next? The move isn't to quit your job and only do the 9s. Nope, the move is this, just 1%. This is step 2, the 1% pivot. And it's based on this brilliant Japanese idea called Kaizen, which means continuous improvement. Now, why is this so powerful? Because a tiny shift, like spending just 30 more minutes a week on a high-energy task and 30 fewer on a low-energy one, is too small to set off your brain's alarm system. It flies right under the amygdala's radar. And that lets your rational brain, your inner CEO, stay in control and make calm, intelligent course corrections. And finally, we get to step 3, the narrative reframing. This is the psychological lock-in. See, changing your actions isn't quite enough. If you change what you do, but your internal story is still stuck in the past, you'll just create a conflict that pulls you right back to your old habits. You have to consciously update the story you tell yourself about your own journey. And the reframe looks something like this. You stop seeing your past as wasted time, and you start seeing it as diversified training. The path you're leaving behind wasn't a failed path. It was the skill bridge that gave you the unique experience you need for whatever comes next. This isn't about fooling yourself, it's about finding the most useful, most accurate story within your own history. This is how you dismantle the sunk cost trap for good. You give yourself permission to evolve. Now for section 5, the science. Let's pop the hood and look at why this whole system is so effective. This isn't just a collection of nice ideas. It's a protocol that's grounded in the fundamental science of what makes us tick. This system works because it checks all 3 boxes for what psychologists call self-determination theory, the core needs for human motivation. First, autonomy, the need to feel in control of your own life. The energy audit and the 1% pivots put you squarely in the driver's seat. Second, competence, the need to feel effective and build mastery. Well, by shifting your time toward high-energy, high-flow tasks, you're naturally building your skills in areas where you already shine. And finally, relatedness, the need to connect with a purpose. That narrative reframing step connects your daily actions to a deeper, more authentic story about who you are. You're not just changing tasks, you're tapping into your deepest sources of motivation. And that brings us to our conclusion, Section 6, Mastering Your Life's Direction. If there's one huge takeaway from all of this, it's a profound shift in mindset. Fulfillment is not a destination you jump to, it's a direction you consciously and continuously steer toward. So here it is, your final checklist, your system for continuous calibration. First, you audit your energy. That's your radar telling you exactly where you are. Second, you make 1% pivots. That's your steering wheel for gentle, smart course corrections. And third, you reframe your narrative. That's the identity lock, making sure your mindset solidifies your new direction. And in the end, it really comes down to this powerful idea. Real productivity, real fulfillment, it isn't about hustle or just doing more stuff. It's about designing and mastering systems, like this one, that make focus feel effortless. Because when you're aligned with your energy and you're moving in the right direction, focus isn't a struggle. It's just what happens naturally. So that leaves us with just one final question, a challenge for you to take with you. Look at your life, your week, your day. Don't think about some grand, far-off destination. Just think about the very next turn you can make. What is your first 1% pivot?